open up the stream, and before I could verify that I'm seeing return video, I think there's about a 30-second delay. There we go. Yep, so there's a 30-second delay just to give you folks an FYI as I play with my hair as I'm watching myself, albeit on a delay. How do I share my link? My Facebook's taskbar is very tight up. Alright, not much. I don't know, but yep, so I have about a minute left before I go live. So what I'm gonna do. Alright, so I know people were trolling my channel. Hello, can you hear me? I think I can hear myself. um, so there was some, actually, what am I doing here? I should move a little bit to my right or my left. There you go, that's a better, more better shot. Let me get the microphone. Let me cover up this face a little bit more so I can do my, sound like I'm a voiceover artist. Okay, what other I wanted to, alright. Instagram's pretty real time. Alright, let's hit the live button. Well, I'm live anyway, so I'm just gonna do one more time. Good evening, everybody. It is April 20th, 2020. It's yours truly in the zoo, and I'm gonna go and try to make fun of assholes and other dimwits and other nimrods and stuff like that. So, I'm here talking to people as if it's one individual that's watching me. So today's an interesting day. The oil markets, for the first time in probably since the beginning of mankind, has traded, now get this, under the actual dollar. It actually closed negative $37 per barrel. Believe it or not. Only in the futures market can you do something really silly like that. And right now in the electronic trading, it looks like there is a buyer in the market, and it's up 103% or $38 to $1.23, according to CNBC.com at 8:32 p.m. Eastern this evening. So that's what we're up against. Now with stocks like Apple or Google or Avaya or Cisco, a stock never goes negative. But it does in the futures market. Believe it or not. So other news around the coronavirus. There's Disney has probably got 2 downgrades today because of their very biggest asset is probably behind the pictures and the the theme parks is that little Magic Kingdom in Bristol, Connecticut, off Interstate 84. That's known as what that was once known as the Entertainment and Sports Programming Network. A lot of people go by the acronym ESPN or Aspen. Um, so ESPN, because they're not carrying live games, the ratings are down. They still have to pay for the rights, which is really ridiculous if you ask me. Um, so here is some of the the really strangest stuff that is coming up, and it's really the the crap from the South because they're so bright people. They're so bright, but yet they have no sense whatsoever. And there is some anecdotal, I can't even pronounce that word. I have a good vocabulary, but not every word I do good in. But there is some of the numbers are growing in places where these people are believing in the most cockamanian crap. And if you need more proof, let's go to display 2 and show it to you. Well, if that helps, if I can get it up on a higher feed here. Let's do that. There we go. So here's a AP photo from yesterday, and again, a guy with a scruffy beard with a hat. He probably's got some camouflage, and he's carrying the American flag, and he has the sign say, "Fauci lied, Main Street died." And there's an older hag that says all jobs are essential. Remember back in the good old days where Black Lives Matter and the the hard right was like, well, all lives matter. You know, they're crazy little the crazy little passive aggressive of, well, all lives matter, don't they? We know we have a emotional intelligence of a sixth grader, but we know more than the elite. So the governor that didn't know how serious coronavirus was had said that some shuttered businesses can open this Friday. He rolled out aggressive plans. This is from CNBC. I've been, you know me. I've really disliked the channel for a while. I don't like their dark packaging and their fast-paced reporting. But when there's crises, they kind of have their shit together. I guess every night should be a crisis. Every day should be a crisis at CNBC. I watch Wi-Fi or Yahoo Finance, but Wi-Fi is basically using Google Hangouts to do their production. It's really like they have their production facility in New York is very sophisticated, but when they're staying at home, it's kind of it's been lo-fi. But I do watch that. I gave up on Fox Business because it's a political news channel like FNC2, but I digress. So, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp on Monday rolled out his aggressive plans to reopen the state's economy, saying that many businesses that shuttered to mitigate the spread of the coronavirus may reopen their doors as of Friday. Now, now, you have to pay attention if you're listening to this. Gyms, hair salons, bowling alleys, tattoo parlors among the businesses that can reopen on Friday as long as owners follow. What if the owners aren't the ones working? Never trust. Let me just flip back here. Never trust Southern people. Follow strict social distancing and hygiene requirements. They suck at hygiene. By Monday, movie theaters may resume selling tickets and restaurants limited to takeout orders could go back to limited dine-in service. By the same way that we carefully close businesses and urge operations to end to mitigate the virus's spread, we are announcing plans to incrementally and safely reopen sectors of our economy. Oh shit. Another report from CNBC. They have like this live blog. They're saying uh, new research suggests that COVID-19 is less deadly but more widespread. Okay, so this is what happens when you have an evolving situation where you don't know the details, right? So it's better safe than being sorry, right? We teach our kids about safety, right? Only when it fits to their narrative, right? So apparently, USC, University of Southern California, and the LA Department of Public Health have done antibody testing, and that approximately 4.1% of the country's adult population has antibody to the virus, that approximately 221,000 adults to 442,000 adults in the country have the infection. The new estimate is 28 to 50 times higher than the 7,994 confirmed cases reported in early April. So, yeah, what do you do? Because here's several things that I think are the problem. Um, yeah, I'm just seeing if there's any other interesting stories, but really the stuff is really crazy because I've read somewhere, it was on Twitter, so I shouldn't believe everything I read on Twitter, but someone made a comment that Kentucky had growing numbers because of the people that went and protested. Now, I find again, I feel really bad for, and I'm saying this wholeheartedly. I'm not like Laura Ingraham who's trying to take it seriously and not. But I understand there are some critical businesses, but I also think, as I said last week, there's a saturation of a saturation of a lot of small businesses, and I think that they don't have good rainy day accounts where we are a I think we consume too much. So that's my theory of it. But what's happening, which really scares me, is twofolds. Number one, the this is kind of the rise of the Tea Party movement. Kind of like Rick Santelli's rant that was heard around the world on tax day in 2009. And he got up on his figurative soapbox, and he was a reporter for about 10 years for CNBC. He had no previous journalism experience before because he was a trader at the Chicago Board of Trade. That later became the CME because they merged and dropped the floor when it was crazy because there's hardly anybody on the floor anymore. But I digress. And he did his, infamous rant, and that kind of led to the Tea Party movement. Now, there's nothing wrong about the Tea Party. I just think that they have really, um, they were obviously organized, having an organized message of limited government, but the problem was they were talking like eighth graders, sixth graders, very immature. They weren't really like, they don't understand high school civics. When I'm saying high school civics, I'm talking about municipal issues. They don't understand global stuff. And I'm not saying globalists are, you don't have to understand the world to be a globalist or vice versa, but they just don't um, have a good grasp of um, complex stuff. It's not to say that complex stuff is complicated. So that's kind of the thing. I hate to say this, but it's farmers that are this tea party rallying at state capitals and you know just just um, being a soapbox. The problem, I think, is too many people are talking and very few people are listening. Sometimes you have to listen, and sometimes you have to learn. Tea Party type people from 11 years ago and the types of people that were infiltrating the capitals at the various states in this country where there was high numbers, maybe not in their backyard. See, the problem was they don't see it in their backyard, so it's not a problem. This is kind of the Laura Ingraham angle that I think has. I posted something on Facebook where she was comparing it to HIV. I'm sick and tired of people comparing pandemics to something that was of a sexual. It's an STD for the most part. Um, it's not curable, but it's treatable, and if you just um, it doesn't, like I said, if it's treatable, you're not going to die from it now, but 30 years ago, yeah. But let's stop comparing something to something that I don't think you should be comparing it to. Just Laura Ingraham is just, I call her Laura Ingraham because she um, mocked special ed people years ago, like her first year on her talk show, which was like 19 years ago. And it might have been a liberal troll at this point, but still, just the idea of mocking special education people even 10, 20 years ago, it's just not okay. She is a dumb, underinformed person. She has a Dartmouth education, but she's, she's just a nuthead. Um, So, that's kind I'm just going to post a link on the comments so you can see what I'm referencing on. But people just don't want to learn. I guess that's the problem. People don't want to understand, take things seriously. People aren't practicing social skills. People aren't social skills. They're not practicing. They're not practicing. They feel entitled. They feel like they have every right to do whatever the hell they want, and they don't understand another common sense thing that you could be a carrier of this disease or illness, and they don't give a damn. And that's very alarming. And I feel like are these people are so selfish. I mean, you're seeing the worst out of humanity. And unfortunately, due to HIPAA regulations and due to um, the very dangerous nature, you're unable to see what nurses and doctors have to go through. There was a New York Times columnist that had gone into the front lines in New York City, but I guess I probably shouldn't even go into that because if you don't like the New York Times because it's a boring broadsheet or it's too liberal for you, then I guess because it's liberal, right? Not because a few things in that paper might be real, but we have to go through this again very checkbox mindset that the New York Times is liberal, therefore it's bad. Okay, just it's really irritating. But watching a few minutes of that can actually, if you have some compassion for people, if you, no matter what their background is, what shortcomings or successes people had. The people in south of the Mason-Dixon line and really where no one sees oceans are just, they don't care. And it's coming in their backyard. It's an invisible hurricane, like Anthony Scaramucci said on CNBC on Friday, and nobody cares. Nobody cares because they think about themselves, they think about their principles that they share with their other people that they go to church with, and they are so disturbed that they can't go to church or can't do anything because the government stole it from them. They feel like they've been robbed. They feel like something was taken away from them. And it's not going to be permanent. And if anyone thinks it's permanent, they they must be fools. So that's kind of what I find of people who live in underinformed. I'm not saying Americans are stupid and undereducated. They just come very unpolished, raw. They talk out of their rectum as truth, and I find that to be very disrespectful to talk like trailer trash. Okay, I'm not trying to trash your political views. I'm not trying to trash you people personally, because you have a low, you have an undiagnosed situation of low emotional intelligence where you think I'm attacking you because you're a conservative, and that's not the point. Excuse me, I gotta charge my iPhone. Break on there. And so, that's kind of what I think. People are just not informed. They don't want to learn stuff. Um, I think people are just choose to be ignorant, and they just believe it's just happening on the coastal cities. It's not going to happen in my backyard, and I think that's what really scares me is how people are just n- thinking that there's some invincibility. If I wave the American flag, it will go away. I really find I'm on Facebook not often anymore, despite the contrary. A lot of the posts come direct from Instagram, and I go on Instagram like two, three, four times a day. Um, Dudes that are on Facebook are typically conservatives. They're these idiots. They're they're just underinformed, and their attention span is very short because you can't write three type paragraphs about an issue because it's TLDR, which is short for too long, didn't read. They're just the guys with their pictures with them and the ATVs and their big ass pickup trucks thinking that they're Jesus Christ and all that. That's my problem with them. And I just again I think they you can you can you could drive a really big scary pickup and I will sometimes go to the local market basket and see people coming out where you need to have like a stapler, like a 6 foot stapler to get out of that big ass pickup, and they got the American flag, which you shouldn't be having on pickups to begin with. Talk about respect the flag, bunch of fucking hypocrites. So They got the big ass truck, and they got all their right wing stuff just smeared on your face because they're trying to get even with you liberal or even moderates because you're a rhino. If, it's all this ad hominem attacks. People calling Charlie Baker in Massachusetts Charlotte Baker. They're calling him Charlie Parker because they they sometimes mistaken his identity with the jazz singer, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, because he's in the middle and he wants power, and he's really done a shitty job in terms of having a proper authority to the cities and towns of when to keep school closes, what to keep open, what not to keep open. He's really doing a shitty job. Governor Sununu here in New Hampshire, I'm not, I didn't vote for the man, but he's done what I feel was a pretty good job because he isn't just being an authority by power. People are calling into the governor's office in the private sector begging him to do something. For example, the hospitality industry saw a spike of out-of-staters and they thought that was going to be the issue. So the where is it going to? So he took action, like limited the out of state traveling and all that good stuff, and it's just really concerning how um just how people just are these days. They're just scumbags. Um, in terms of just I was segueing out of the governor and I kind of lost my train of thought. I'm not saying that Sununu or Baker's a scumbag, although Baker kind of is closer to that. But just individuals, okay, people that preach the life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, and we follow the Constitution, personal responsibility, you know, and these are the same people that are not, but because they want to be authoritative too. Here in New Hampshire, we have this conservative party where we believe in the Constitution, the state Constitution, and the federal Constitution, but yet we have people in power that it's actually in the bureaucracy part of the executive unit that likes to tell people what to do. We have a police department in the town I live in that is, I don't have a lot of respect for the department. I'm just going to be blunt about it. They tend to be very authoritative and they're very conservative. They have prejudices for sure. Well known on if you know me. I don't want to go into details, um, but it's individuals. It takes individuals to make movements, and again, I understand people who have critical jobs, they have small businesses. I understand that, but you should also be somewhat prepared for any economic, even if it, because we were, again, like I said last week, we were primed for a slowdown. And if anyone who puts some money here and there in your capital expenditures, and I would say this for enterprises too, enterprises should be using their cash reserves to finance things because, you know, they're, Mark Cuban was on CNBC this afternoon and he was, praising, he's praising by buying shares of Amazon. You know, Jeff Bezos is literally a zillionaire. He is literally a zillionaire. He is worth way too much money. A company that's worth too much money. A company that's not accountable. They do. I read somewhere that they're tracking Whole Foods employees of their performance. Okay, because they want to turn their workers into robots. Okay, I don't want to see that economy coming. I'd love to see Amazon go out of business. I want to see Jeff Bezos in jail. That guy is a crook. And I bet you if he had a Sarbanes-Oxley compliance thing, they would not comply in Sarbanes-Oxley. That guy is an Enron. And I've said this for years. This guy should be in jail or have even worse treatment. This guy is a You want to talk about stealing things, taking things away from people? Amazon is a classic example of stealing wealth from small businesses, putting them out of business, and he has billions of dollars that he's not even spending it on. Okay, never trust a guy with a creep who's got a. Oh God, he's not even an attractive guy. He's got a bay for. He has two bays. Because he was kind of good looking when she was younger. Um, I know that for a fact. 'Cause I seen pictures of her in like Time magazine from when he was the person of the year back. I forget which year that was. Um, the current chick he's skirting around with, I think he's good looking too, but I don't think he's a smart guy. I think he's brilliant. Well, he is smart because he's playing on the fools of his employees. I just don't like Amazon, and I want to be very clear with that. I don't shop there. I have an account with them. I bought a few things before I really knew that Amazon was really a bad company. And likewise, I don't support Walmart. I know a lot of middle Americans in rural areas, that's their place they could get things. I understand that, but I also don't like Walmart's creepiness as well. And if you know a thing or two, they got security cameras all over the place. I'm not saying I'm against shoplifting, but I know that they use those security cameras for more than to surveil on loss prevention. If you watch David Faber's documentaries he did for CNBC like 15 plus years ago, he he did that. It was a really good documentary he did. So, it's funny that the outdoor security cameras are those boxy, like box cameras, where places like Target have the very same thing, but it's got the dome. Okay, it's not in your face. But again, I'm not suggesting that, I'm against, or I'm not condoning shoplifting. I just think that if you're going into the place that we don't trust you, how can I trust you? Same thing goes with Amazon. They're spying on your Alexa's listening in to everything. I kind of like smart speakers if I could have more control over it, but I can't afford them too because they're really expensive. So that's kind of what I think of Amazon. I don't have a lot of respect for them. I think what happens is Bezos will do a couple good social capital deeds, but he's still committing financial murder. He's still cooking books. Like I said, if they had to do a Sarbanes-Oxley audit, they would be non-compliant. And I find them to be on the same class as Enron, as high growth, cook the books. I don't even think they're worth the billions of dollars. I think they're stealing it from shareholders. And he's pocketing all these billions. Okay, there really is an economic, um, there really is a divided economic system, and I don't like that. I'm not trying to say Occupy Wall Street. I'm not trying to do equal pay or come up as a social justice warrior. But again, I've been saying this for months and years. Private equity and these big tech companies have grew really fast, accrued a lot of money, and they're just sitting on it. And yet the federal, we don't want to tax these companies because then they'll go and reincorporate somewhere else, like in the Cayman Islands, to do tax evasion for the most part. And yet the government has put trillions of dollars into our economy to stimulate. Okay, what's going on? What's wrong with our country? Our country is fucked up, and there's an unfortunate equilibrium. There's no balance. We're so imbalanced. with our economic system, and there isn't enough smart people to have the balls, to be really blunt, have the balls to tell us what we need to do. We don't have a good leader. We, the president is working on cute little one-liners that fit on a chyron on the bottom of your screen, whether you're on a phone or on a cable TV or over the air, whatever, in a newspaper, whether it's online or whatever. It's just because our attention span has lowered. I don't know if it was urban America, suburban America, or rural America that has the worst case of attention span. I think it's rural America, the small town, because I we can't tell you what's wrong with this economy within 50 seconds. I could do click for clips and post this on YouTube and do a 2 minute rundown of what I just spent 5 minutes telling you about. But 2 minutes is too much time. It's too long, can't listen. TLCL. It's a really unfortunate situation that we are in. People just don't have the appropriate intelligence to process a very basic thing of how do you reopen the business without everyone flocking into a mall, flocking into a town park, town common, arenas or whatever, and potentially be carrying the germ. We're just starting to hear that. And yet, if you're listening to talk radio on the antiquated modulation or FM, if you live in a really shitty market where music is not even played on FM anymore, they'd probably tell you, oh, the liberals, these are people that are power hungry. They want to take away, they're taking away your rights now. They're going to take away your guns. They're going to take away this, and that. And that, you know, they're probably going to say, oh, they're just trying to make people be more lazy. And you got these hyper cynics like Mark Levin, Howie Carr, these, do you want me to really say the word? Conservatives? They're so, if you use the dirty word, right? Part of that dirty word means you're so hard, very stubborn, right? Stubborn bitch. Like a stubborn bitch on steroids, right? Well, if you're really stubborn to the right, I guess you're a cunt. Conservative. I think I just lost a few followers after saying that. But that's the reality. These people just think that the liberals are out to get John Joe, RFD7, Anytown USA. Let's do 98765. Because I didn't want to do 1, 2, 3, 4 because then I would imply New York. But the weirdos really live in out west, and that's where the virus is starting. And it's so ironic is Japan is starting to have cases of the coronavirus. It's kind of funny because how come Japan wasn't the first country? Just the way the virus is spreading and evolving, and anyone with a brain that has a understanding of how basic things work. You don't need to be a genius. You don't need to be a Harvard elite to understand that there's, this virus is very complex and it's hard to figure it out. So we may have put the economy in coma, but, on one hand, I could say that America was dead 10 years ago, 12 years ago. Maybe 9/11 for that part. And we were just on this ridiculous life support. It kind of makes you wonder. And I feel that the president has put a lot of cutesy one-liners, wrap it into something that's cute to make it very consumable, right? MAGA, COG, very simple liners that anybody can say, and you feel good about yourself. And I find that to be just disheartening. It's an insult to the people who understand. The rest of the world is kind of elitist myself. I don't like watching CNBC and seeing the upper graphics saying U.S. markets. Why can't you just say Wall Street? Why do you have to keep saying U.S. every so often? When a European is watching Closing Bell, they know that's the US version because all the other CNBC channels have their country or continent as the title of their show. So you don't have to keep saying US all the time. You don't have to be. That's one thing about the globalists, too, is like when it's a US based news operation, they themselves are in outer space. They put themselves out of America, make it look like we're just a blob like everything else. And I kind of don't like that culture. So, kind of counterbalance. I believe that the globalism's bad, but it's good to be open with other parts of the world, because maybe China would probably, obviously, if anyone has a brain, we know that it's not, or Russia for that matter, but, like Italy or England, maybe what they're doing to do with COVID-19, learn from somebody, because we're not learning in this country. We're just like, we're stuck at like a time warp of, the 1950s, 1980s, everything was working. We don't need to learn anything. Like not me personally, but I'm acting like a hillbilly. I just graduated, high school, like, 30 years ago. It's all I need to know, right? You don't have to go to college to learn new stuff either. There's, on the left, you got lefties that feel like they need to go to college to learn new stuff, get themselves into debt, crude debt, and to learn more stuff. And the problem with universities is you're not practicing what they're preaching to you if you're just going to school all the time. I think the best way to learn stuff is to read a newspaper and watch TV or listen to the radio. That's you don't have to be in a classroom to learn new stuff. That goes on both sides, the blue and the red, in my opinion. But I am also saying too that regional states we really have to have a pact to defeat this virus, okay? Because like Montana is opening their economy. Montana was brought up a lot better than me, I believe it or not. And my friend that I've via my Museum of Telephony, some of my videos on the Definitely PBX, came from him, and I messaged him last week or the week before, just checking in on him, and he said missing Jason's sanity if found, bring it back to his home, kind of a thing. It was kind of witty, but some people are handling this with stride, some people don't. But my concern with like Montana, only because not because of him, but the media has used as an example, they opened up their economy on Friday. That's not to say somebody from Washington State or Idaho could go in the western part of the state, and then the germ makes its way eastbound, potentially hitting places like Billings or something like that, and causing a pandemic. That's why you have New York, the tri-state, New York, Jersey, Connecticut, Delaware, Pennsylvania, because you kind of like, you have to do the New York tri-state and the Philly tri-state, because those other three states are like South Jersey, the shore, and those two states, you have to come together. I believe Massachusetts is part of this little coalition or consortium or whatever. New Hampshire, the reason why New Hampshire is following Massachusetts is, again, if Massachusetts has the longer stay-at-home date, we gotta protect our own borders. We're not gonna do border patrol, right? but they back in the olden days when there was I guess there was plants dying back in the 20s or so. I don't remember the story. California and like Oregon and Nevada would actually have border patrol to have I think it was crops or like there was like something that was killing crops, so they were literally had border patrol. But funny thing, you're not hearing that from the conservative talk shows that are talking that mention that during the Ebola outbreak. But um, but anyhow, we can't do border patrol, right? We can't pull Massachusetts over like what Rhode Island's doing. We can't do that. It's against the Constitution. Blah 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 blah. We can't make judgments, but we can't do it with illegal aliens. But we can do it with citizens. All this bullshit. Okay, so wait a sec. Excuse me. I gotta get my cough button working so you don't hear me hack up along here. But the reason why New Hampshire has to be in lockstep with Massachusetts and Maine and Vermont is to prevent them from coming into New Hampshire or New Hampshireites coming out of our state and potentially carrying the virus. I mean, I figured this out without having this to be explained to. The thing that I had to explain this to you and probably excuse me, let me try that again because this will be a click for a clip. The idea that I'm gonna have to do this in post and take this 2 minute cut and post this as a separate clip to tell you why they have to do this just shows me how desperate our country is in our intelligence. A sixth grader can copy these messages, but I'm talking to 40 somethings, 50 somethings, these hicks that are camouflage, that all they're happy for no logical reason. They're just happy that my president is doing our thing, and they just have this energy that makes them feel good. I mean, are you guys psychotic? You know, that's that's a problem. And that's kind of an issue. And people just don't seem to understand. I guess ignorance is really bliss. Ignorance is bliss. What else can I say? America just isn't well aware of their surroundings. And they are not doing the right things to be responsible adult. Adulting. If you have the luxury of being at home and if you don't have to be out, don't be out. And apparently, maybe this virus is again sending us to our rooms to think about our inactions. All of us are probably guilty of things. Um, so I'm going to take a break and then come back on the other side and just tell you what I really, if I haven't said enough about rural America, I'll tell you about my trip to North Carolina. If I really, I'm going to go on the specific details of the South and how much I despise the South and why anything east of I-87 is kind of like my home. I-87 in New York State, because there is a fake I-87 in North Carolina. Tell you that on the other side of the break. This part of the Clickford's Weekly Zoo is brought to you by from Techy Crafts. The I gotta read the copy again. This edition of the Clickford Zoo is brought to you by Techy Crafts. That's crafty stuff for your technical personal life. Visit techycrafts.clickford.net or facebook.com/techycraftsmht. And on Instagram at Techy Crafts. Yeah, business opportunities, contact Techy Crafts at clickford.net. Right. This part of the show is brought to you by Techy Crafts, my other little business. So I'll do my fair disclosure right now. It's the craft stuff for the techie person in your life. There's some cool little stuff, vintage tech, actual vintage tech, and some just stuff with scrap old technology recycled for the purpose of somebody that you care about that is technical and or non-technical that is not an engineer, whatever. techycrafts.clickford.net. You can really see my shitty web design on there as well. Okay, moving on. So I wanted to tell you about the my trip down south, and I went down there with my mother to visit my paternal grandmother. And I don't want to get too personal with my life, but the paternal side of the family has not been in my life since I was very young. They were, they're not. I think it's meant to be, because the they they don't get me really well, but my grandmother does, and I'm trying to have a connection with her. She has had a really rough year. She had almost was cheating with death. When I was on our way down to North Carolina, I was not sure what the status was with her. It wasn't until I was on Facebook where, at the time, I was still connected with some members of the family. I'm in cordial contact with them. That my grandmother looked well, and I started to figure out that the family's down there because of her birthday, because her birthday's on the 23rd. She turned 75. So I have a couple of things I'm going to be sending down to nearby Fayetteville. Um, but getting down there was a 2-day trek. So my mom and I went basically the way to get to I-84. Go through Worcester, through, US 3 to 495 to 290 to I-84. Actually went on the Mass Pike because I forgot that you could get down, could go down a little further and hook up on 84, but whatever. Followed 84 from Connecticut into Pennsylvania. In fact, actually got to Scranton, where's the theme song to The Office when I need it, and got down there. And we actually stayed in Hazleton, so we went on, I think, Interstate 81. That's north and south. The weather was not looking too good. We were gonna try to get to like Hershey and stay in Hershey, which would be further south. Um, but we stayed in Hazleton. Then that's like south of Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, and then went down 81 the following morning, and they got stuck in a there was actually a disabled BST, big scary truck, and the truck had to, we were stuck for a bit, and then we got further south to like Harrisburg, where there was no snow. We were like on the mountain area that had back to the valleys, and you kind of know where like the Mason-Dixon line is. You can tell like we're getting closer to the south, and got to a Maryland route that went to 95 at that point in the Beltway. And essentially, I would say from Delaware to middle of Virginia, it's like gridlock. And we were going on a Sunday evening to, it was like 3 o'clock, I think, when we were getting into, or maybe 2 o'clock or something like that. It was like taking us forever to get to Virginia, and then we were stuck in Virginia because then you get to the 2 lane, and that's where you when you're in the boonies. Get through Virginia. It's like to go through because Fayetteville's on the southern tip of the triangle, which is the metro area of Raleigh. So we get to I don't know when it was dark, right? So it was November. The Patriots were on, or we weren't able to get the Patriots game essentially. We were trying to, and then it was like going through New Hampshire 93 twice essentially, because by the time we got to the North Carolina state line, we were fighting to get there. I was recovering from a cold. Talk about personal responsibility. I was scared to touch my grandmother because I thought I'd kill her, and then find out she had a good white blood cell count. But we get to North Carolina probably at 7 o'clock. Okay, I don't know what the highest exit number is because it's based by the miles, right? And I forget which one it was. But we were off exit 56 in Fayetteville. And it took like another hour and a half to get there. And I could see how south we were going and how like different the highway was, because you have like what I think they call feeder roads, where there's like byways, like a local road running in parallel. It's kind of like in Connecticut with US 1 and 95, but a little bit more dirtier, more dirt roads, stuff like that, much more narrow. There's no houses or stuff. There are churches, but it's like on the other side of what I think they call the feeder roads. It was such a different experience. And I didn't realize how big Raleigh was because I've been to North Carolina. I set foot in Charlotte, which is kind of on the most southwestern hook of the state, which it does hit South Carolina, but it's not the coastal. Where we were closer to the coast than we were like inland. Not to mention that North Carolina borders Tennessee on the western end. Yeah. It was, it took us like probably about, we left at 10:30 in Hazelton, got there about 8, so it took us at least 10 hours. And I would say 7 hours from New Hampshire to Hazelton. So it was a very, it's a really big, I mean, it's a really big area in terms of the metro area because, well, I can't speak for my aunt or my grandmother, but they are like on the most southern tip of the metro. So you have Raleigh, Durham. So Durham, I think, is up, where UNC is, right? It's Chapel Hill, I think. So Durham's over there, Raleigh's here, and then Fayetteville is on the southern end. So I did set foot in Raleigh because I went to the Lego store to get something for my grandmother. I made a Lego heart for her. So I did that. But I just saw like some of the weird things. Like you see a lot of churches, and I'm not pissing on religion, but it just you see like the Bible Belt, Waffle Houses. I saw a lot of those breakfast foods. I wanted to check them out, but didn't have the time to do it or the money to do that. The people were nice. That we would run into like either stores or stuff like that. It wasn't that inherently bad, but it's just a really weird culture. And it's like, well, I didn't run into anyone particular that could be your stereotypical redneck. I kind of know what it's like. And it was just a very weird experience, other than it was really fun. I mean, I'm not saying North Carolina was so bad, but just certain parts of it just didn't, it's not my natural habitat. Seeing I-87 in Raleigh was like, what the hell? Like, it just was created by the feds just 2 years ago. I'm like, how can you have, Interstate 87 that is not interconnected? It made no sense. And then you have like the business routes that are like access roads. You have the Manchester Airport access road. That's kind of what those business routes are on the interstate. But it was just a lot of weirdness. In a lot of ways, I mentioned the Confederate flag last week. So they selectively are historical, whatever fits to their narrative. So things like try to remember the days of the Confederate States of America is more important than, I don't know, historic road. Like a lot of these roads are like wide because maybe it wasn't really incorporated. Maybe I don't know, but a lot of the local roads were like 8 lanes, 4 in each direction, and they're like city blocks that are like LA type and not even Manhattan type. I mean, when you look at the grids in the South or the West, it makes New York look a little more historical in the sense like there was a New York 2 centuries ago or even a century ago. Like Fayetteville probably never really existed 40 years ago. I know Raleigh Durham had grown over the years, and I think Fayetteville became part of that metro in, like I said, the last 40 years, right? 4 decades. But I just, we went to the beach. I will be posting video on that at some point. But palm trees. I was like, palm trees. It's like, they were pretty to look at, but I just don't like the southern culture. I don't like beaches. I don't like living in the. I feel that beaches equates to fantasy. You want to talk about working? What do you do during if there weren't for air conditioning? What do you do to like? I just feel like you lose IQ points when you go south of the Mason-Dixon line. Um, just it just didn't feel like home. But it was a great experience. I got to, meet my grandma, and like I've said before, I learned a lot about my culture, that I was carrying this like Japanese, I'm a quarter Japanese technically, but I like to just up it because physically I have a Japanese physique. Right? You can see how I can't fit into any workspaces. This 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 edit console that I have to do is 26 inches tall because I'm 5'4", but I have the Japanese physique. Okay, you know this Aeron chair that I have doesn't even fit me for my because right now it's too low because the camera's set up, and my I'm not keyboarding properly in when I do post stuff, so it just makes it more inherently complicated. So here I go up the Aeron. I like to have my feet. I like to have my upper leg flat. I don't like it angled. So like I could get a step stool, right? So this is why I built custom cubicles and stuff, because of my Japanese heritage, of which I just didn't really know about what my grandmother had to go through. My bakchan, she told me some really interesting stories, and I thought the 8 hours I spent that week with her, and it was probably longer than that. 'Cause I don't know if we spent 2 or 3 days. I had to look at the notes that I wrote, but just learning about my culture, that she prefers watching Korean soap operas over her native Japanese, and how she had to deal with prejudice because of World War II. And how not all Japanese are wanted to bomb Hawaii and all that good stuff. So it was I as I'm trying to remember a lot of the things that I kind of, again, going back to the A block, right? I want to learn. I want to um listen, and I did a little and I did some talking too, try to put myself on my foot in the outdoor, which I don't know if it worked. They're kind of, it's hard to get a good pulse on them. But, that was what I was coming down there for, was for her, but the other family too, because I thought it was given, but whatever. But, I had some telephone calls with her. I called her, I think, 3 times since we visited. And I gave her my phone number, my 2 numbers, my iPhone, my work number / home number, and I put Techy Crafts on the business card. I put my legal name in and put Clickford on there, just to make it simple, because it's a complicated story. And so I've talked with her. It's very quick. It's fine. The pace is very mutual, which is good. She could I just love her. I just I I'm glad. I don't know why at this point I was, brought to her, but um I don't know. But she told me on the phone where I was kind of going at, but she was telling me on the phone about the weather down there, because she was living in Bedford, um next town over. But for her age and what she's been going through, she's had some health issues. Before she had a cancer situation, basically, that last year. But it's great. It's great weather. I mean, granted, I when we were heading back home on December 1st, Sunday the 1st, I saw foliage in Virginia, maple trees. I think, yeah, it's maple leaf falling from, and I never saw foliage on the first day of December ever. It was just an interesting experience. Would I want to do that again? Probably not. Palm trees, the beach, and it's kind of cool. You get 70-degree days in November more than you get up here, but with the climate change, I think that's becoming a moot point. again, populist view. Like, everyone says, ah, it's getting color. Like, really? I look at, well, they're underground, and you're wrong. Up here in New Hampshire, I love to just challenge people's mindsets. For that's what I do when I'm not doing the Zoom, not doing clickful scams or the bitch line. So the ride back home was rather interesting because because there was a nor'easter coming, and we got over a foot of snow up here. We were snowed in. My maternal grand was here all week. And so we were looking at the map of let's just follow 95, and we did for the most part. Went under the Delaware Memorial Bridge, got stuck in Virginia again. It took us 4 hours to get. It took us. We left at 10:30, got to Virginia about 1, and from like 1 to 7, something crazy like that. We kind of got past the district. It's like, who, like, I don't understand what makes Washington, D.C. so special for the political elite. I mean, because a lot of our reps have residencies around either the two states, Maryland or Virginia. And I'm like, I understand they got the handlers and stuff, but if I was like running for Congress or Senate, I would not, as a passenger, handle the jams in DC. And we were trying to get WTOP radio for the traffic weather on the 8s, and it was like, oh, but 95 is suck, and I just didn't care for it. It was like cringing. So actually, my mom and I stayed at a DoubleTree in Fort Lee, New Jersey, right on the George Washington Bridge. And so we get there right around midnight. And I gone on the George Washington Bridge before, years ago, but I forgot like how you get on there because I thought when we got to the DoubleTree that um that if my mother like because they were saying there was a parking garage nearby, but you had to like get back on a street, and I said to my mom like, be careful because I don't want you stuck in Manhattan. Because again, I didn't know that to get on the George Washington from like Fort Lee proper, it's like an access road. So so it's like an access road, and I didn't like know that because it was like I said 20 plus years since we last crossed it. Um, and then on top of that, I was trying to get my mother options to bypass the $15 to cross the George, and the Hudson River south of Albany is very deep. It's like 50 feet of water from the base to the top, and some of these bridges go really up. So my mother's scared of heights, and by this time the nor'easter's hitting New York. When we got to our hotel, it was sleeting, and the wind was very um, brisk, and we were in fact, I think I remember a plastic baggie with a Target receipt cut blown away. I didn't even bother getting it. It wasn't that important. So we get to our room around midnight and slept without an alarm, I don't think. Got up about 8:30, had, a little meal in our, that we brought with us. And then turning to Pix 11, we were getting New York 1. I'm like, when I was told, I'm like, how the hell were we getting New York 1? We weren't in Manhattan. Turning to Pix 11, Fox 5, the usual morning newscast, they had the crawl on the bottom. And logically, you're like, there's got to be some slowdown, even though there's snow outside. It was actually running school closings in suburbs. I'm like, there's got to be a slowdown somewhere, right? So 10:30, it seemed to be the recurring theme here. We're leaving at 10:30, or maybe it was 9:30. I forget. I think it was 10 because it was checkout, right? So we get on the on-ramp, and we're within 2, 3 minutes we're crossing into Harlem. I was like, oh shit. So then I thought the joke I was telling people was the Statue of Liberty. The Statue of Liberty is I think you could see it on the George, if I'm not mistaken, because I remember seeing it when I was 10 years old back in the day. So I logically thought I would see it, but the visibility was like a quarter of a mile looking south on the island, so we couldn't even see the high-rise apartments in Harlem. So then I'm looking at the map. I'm on my iPhone and looking at the map. Is there a bug flying by? I'm seeing it on my camera here. Um. Anyways, so I'm kind of like look at the map. I'm looking at HRP. What's HRP? Oh, it's a Hutchinson. We've been on there before. So it's like literally, like, I won't say New York minute because I know what a New York it is, but we were going by the city proper very quick. We were on reduced speed. I had the GoPro rolling, and we're in the Bronx before you know it. We get on the hutch, get onto the back roads to like where the Whitestone Bridge is to get to Queens, but you go the other way down the other side of the Bronx into Westchester County, into like New Rochelle, that area. Go figure, it's where the coronavirus central is, right? And we're within 10 more minutes, we get to Connecticut. I'm like, shit. I tell this story to many people, and they were amazed by the story. They believed it, but they like me. I'm like, wow, we're almost home. And again, the trip in itself there was a lot of emotional stuff with the family that I was trying to process. So the idea of not crawling with traffic wise, the only traffic jam we had on day 2 from Fort Lee, New Jersey to New Hampshire was in New Hampshire. Yeah, it was not New York. Like, New York was like a slice, a very sliver of the entire trip. We weren't planning to go through the turnpikes and open up the Easy Pass thing. That wasn't the intent. But it was for safety and security reasons, knowing that we just follow 95 home where we'll get there. It was kind of cool the night before where I could see all the blowtorch AM signals. Like, you could see Lodi, New Jersey with all the radio signals, and I saw the drive safely tank that was seen on The Sopranos. I couldn't take it because my mother was yapping. I'm like, oh shit. But now that, like, this is the right, if you're someone that doesn't like to deal with traffic in the Northeast, don't go to New York City on a good weather day. If you know how to drive in crappy weather, go on a crappy weather day. And in fact, ironically, that was the first snowstorm in the New York tri-state area, and nobody was on the road. I was shocked. You wonder why I hate the sun so much. It's because I really like it's out, and that's what's happening with the coronavirus. Kind of getting it full circle here. It's just an instinct. And I always follow against the instinct. Like, oh, go, like, if it really is like 60 degrees, I'll get out. I should get out like Wednesday or tomorrow morning. It'll be sunny and it gets stormy by tomorrow afternoon, so I'll do that. But yeah, that was a breeze. I don't know for my mother. I think she was able to do it. I was able to like pivot. Hartford was. I took pictures of Hartford, and it was literally nobody was there. Like, the city was shut down. I bet you anything it was more shut down then than it is now. We had 91 to ourselves. We had the Merritt Parkway to ourselves. We had 84 up until the Mass line to ourselves. It was unflippin' It was a Monday. It was a Monday after a holiday. You would think there would be traffic jams or something, and it was like night and day. And it was night and day, right? When you think about it. So, yeah, that was my favorite part of the trip, the road trip, the car trip, right? We're riding around. I was sick on the way down, and I was healthy on the way up. Um, but yeah, I just felt like home. I just felt like I was home. Um, I don't really care for the South. I mean, if I have to go and visit, but just people were like I said, they were bad people. They were pleasant or front desk people at the hotel, the clerks, cashiers, or what. There wasn't like nothing spectacular about personalities or what. Um, but I just I just think the whole like riding around it like it takes its like to because my family lives in Holt Mills, which is like a nearby town, and it's like it takes you like 20 minutes to go 4 miles because you have to go through all these 4 lane local roads to get to kind of a byway that looks like a 101A like set up at that, and then my family lives on a 4-digit lot, but it's like the lot numbers are so inflated. I guess the lots are so small or what, but like she was living on this drive that you had to get on. It was like Boston, but they don't interconnect that easily. It was just like a very weird. It's clearly a developed neighborhood, and I would want to live. There's a lot of reasons why I wouldn't want to live in a developed neighborhood, but I don't know why they live in North Carolina. I don't know what the reason is. I'm not close enough to the family to get that details, but yeah, that Interstate 87 I saw I-40. I don't get that. That one was strange. It's funny when we were in New York State, we were on 84, and I took a picture of I-87 without realizing I would be seeing it on I-87. So I did one of these, hey, Holiday, hey, did one of those. I did one of those things because I was weird like that. California was a cool trip too, even though my aunt Tanya and I are no longer in a family relationship. But we took the road trip, and that's another video I'm going to get on YouTube. The road trip that because I didn't know how to use the GoPro, so I used my camcorder to do the trip. We went on Interstate 15, so that goes from LA to I think all the way up to Idaho, and it actually cuts through Nevada more than you would think. Goes through parts of Arizona. There's a couple exits in Arizona from what I can tell. You go to Arizona, then up through Utah or Salt Lake. In fact, there's signs for Salt Lake in Nevada, believe it or not. And then I think it goes through Idaho. But through California was an interesting trip. We went up 4,000 miles right by Mojave, the Mojave Desert. We were bypassing it. We weren't like, you had to get off the exits to kind of check things out. And we were on a time to get to Vegas by 8 o'clock local time. And yeah, it was really cool. The other thing too with California is they put exit numbers by the mile. When I went in 2001, it was just exit, 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 exit. But what they did was they put a little sign and like overlay it on the existing road signs. the California that we went through the I-15 corridor was kind of cool, but there was some heck areas. There was some churchy stuff that I saw on the highway, and I think that area got hit with that earthquake on July 4th of last year, which is kind of weird. We just tend to make our presence and bad things tend to happen. It's like California gets an earthquake, the desert, right? And go to New York and there's COVID-19. Yeah, I guess we're not meant to travel where this bad jinx, right? No, there's no such thing as jinxing. But yeah, it was last year was some really cool trips. The November trip was not like planned. The trip to Nevada, well, actually, California and Vegas combined was actually, I was planning on skipping the NEB show actually last year, which probably was a good thing. I went there because you can't now with COVID-19. And I actually want to be really clear with this whole thing as I wrap up the show here. I am not planning to do much in the next year, even in a 20-mile radius. I just feel like there's going to be the biggest inconvenience is getting your temperature checked, getting pricked for like blood tests or what to get them into places. I don't want to be doing that. I don't want to be carrying a card. I just don't want to be doing that. But part of the reason why we went out west was to meet my aunt. And to me that meant a lot. If I'm talking about it on YouTube, I guess it means something, right? Or SoundCloud later on. It meant something to me. To meet my family. So that's kind of, the little things like just seeing like road signs and landmarks and stuff like that is part of the experience. Is kind of where I'm going at. San Diego's a really cool town. We didn't go to San Diego this time around. We stayed at Legoland and pretty much stayed in Oceanside and the Carlsbad proper. Although Oceanside's kind of cool too. It's kind of like the West Coast equivalent of Hartford and New Haven, where I would consider Hartford to be San Diego and New Haven to be Oceanside, but it's similar cities, but just backwards, right? The city is south, and the ocean, the the shoreline city is to the north. They're about 30 miles apart, and I remembered that 'cause went to Legoland before. I remember it took about 30 minutes or 30 some miles from downtown San Diego, which was kind of where we came from, to Carlsbad. Oceanside's like the next exit up, but you can go through these convoluted eight lane roads to get to part of Oceanside, which I mean my aunt lived like literally 4 miles from where she lived in Oceanside to Legoland. But it takes you like twice as long between all the traffic because a lot of people love their cars in California. Remember, San Diego is a very dark red county. It's probably the darkest in the United States too. So you got that going on. But the people are really nice. They're cute girls. There's a lot of It's a good area. I probably wouldn't want to be in LA or whatever. Just the Northeast is my home. Basically everything east of the Hudson. I spent a lot of time in New York State in me growing up. I grew up going to my aunt's college during the breaks, bring her back home to Londonderry and go down 101 to Route 9. It goes from Hampshire to Vermont's Route 9 to New York State's Route 9. And Capital District. Never went to Albany until '07. That's a kind of a cool place to just check out. Um, my aunt got married in Cooperstown. I didn't go to the baseball museum or Hall of Fame or what, 'cause it was it was a single purpose. She got married, then later get divorced, and then they moved to Connecticut. Then she kind of moved to different like Connecticut suburbs, and then I went to New York City. It was from my maternal aunt, who which I don't have a relationship with anymore, and and yeah, so that's how I got to know New York City. And in fact, that same month, um, I spent the Labor Day weekend with her on Manhattan in Midtown, and then 9/11 happened roughly 10 days later. So that's kind of why, like, 9/11 is fresh, still fresh. Remembering life before 9/11 is very fresh. It's like almost like I count my blessings just traveling within the US. I haven't been abroad, don't have a passport, haven't been to Canada. I'd love to go to England, Italy. I had to learn some of their languages, right? Visit Legoland, Denmark. That'd be kind of cool. But um, I would have to know some language, right? You had to, right? You had to learn something that could connect to other people. I don't have a problem with bilingual, but obviously English is a primary language. I'm for that. But I was 14 when 9/11 happened. I turned 14 and a half the next day. So it was probably when I was in my 20s. I'm like, oh shit, I could have been, because I went to Legoland on 4th of July. So it wasn't even the next holiday, major holiday that that our country would change. So it's and I remember getting on from Manchester, MHT without we got home from California that year within a half hour, and for whatever reason I did not have jet lag. I had jet lag this time around. Part of it was I didn't get good sleep. Um, Vegas was Las Vegas was really busy for me because I went, like I said, I went to every hour of the NAB show, and it was like literally mission, visiting vendors, exchanging cards. Because I may not see you again. Let's stay in touch. I'm interested in buying some stuff for the studio here. Whirlwind, got some Switchcraft stuff from Whirlwind. I think I got it a little bit cheaper than the electronic shop that just closed. But yeah, I kind of went on about an hour and a half. So yeah, that's gonna be it for the night. But I hope you guys enjoyed my little monologue about politics, about this whole coronavirus, the red and blue division that's creating up, how the South is so strange, how my family, some of them are not, how I missed the days before 9/11. I think that's where America changed. I don't think it was the elections in recent years. I think there's there was so much unity, at least in New York City after 9/11. And I think people need to like research that. I think that's kind of where it started. It's kind of when I'm talking about my trips. This is just more of a monologue of my own story, my own selfish story about how I traveled. I love to travel when I can. I like to, have my family save money and be thrifty and find good deals when traveling, getting rooms, that kind of stuff. That kind of stuff. I love it, and I take a lot of pictures of it. And I actually, um, I actually have some storage issues. I lost a bunch of photos I took from 15, 16, 17. Don't know what happened to it. It was on my FireWire drive, and I can't find it. So I'm praying that there's an offsite backup that is about the same time where the photos would have been living on it in my home folder. Just hoping it's there. Let's hope. Because then I have to go to the recovery and shit like that. It's crazy. Alright, folks, so that's it. As much as I keep playing my hair, I gotta get C to cut my hair. Sooner rather than later, hopefully it'll be a little more organized. So, hope you guys enjoyed this show. Clips will come on my various platforms later in the week. I just found out that I haven't shared anything on my Museum of Telephony page in a while, right? A post to reach 118 people that like my Facebook page. Oh, the pressure. I will promise I'll get some stuff on that. I'm working on the new website. The what's it? Museum.clickfor.net. There's actually some stuff I'm going to show you on my platforms. I actually will share it too after I finish the show because I have the stuff in the room that's not been put in the bookcase yet. So pay attention to that. Have a good one. I gotta go. Good night.